Hey guys, what's up? My name is Cerise Fairfax, and I'm coming at you right now from the Dominican Republic in a province called Puerto Plata and a town called Sosua, and I live in a neighborhood called Los Charamicos. I live where I love, and I love where I live. We're gonna do a story time today. Chicas gone wild. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening, but I have a few stories for you. And one of them that we're going to start with right now off the bat is one that started with me. It happened to me on Pedro Clisante. Now, I told a few people this story, but to be honest with you, I didn't tell a lot of people, and I didn't really make it public because I actually understood where she was coming from. So here's how the story goes. I was walking on Pedro Clisante. It was 8 o'clock at night. Now, around 8:15. Now, for those of you who don't know, I used to have a television show here in Sosua called Living Good on Channel 3. I used to go every Wednesday at 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock. It was an hour show. I will be going back to that show in the future. I just put it on hold because I'm working on so many different projects, and I like to work from home a lot, you know? So anyway, here I am. It's after the show, and I am, talking to my friend on WhatsApp, leaving voice notes back and forth. And my friend said to me, he wants to come here. He's from Canada, and he was never here before. And he wasn't in Sosua. And then he says to me, he's like, you know what, Cerise, I want to come see you. I always look at your videos on YouTube. I want to come visit. And I'm like, oh yeah, man. You got to come. So I put my phone up like this to video myself walking down the street, not to video anyone else. For those of you who are my longtime viewers, you know I don't make videos about chicas on the street. I'm not one to go up the street and back down the street and show any girls on video, because for many reasons. One, it's their own business. What they're doing is none of my business. It doesn't reflect anything. Two, most of the guys that come here to do their pay to play with these chicas are my clients. Like, I get them apartments, I get them property, a lot of these guys. So why would I want to get myself caught up in the middle of making these chicas angry? I never know when these guys are going to show up to view an apartment with one of these chicas. And if they do, when they do, because it does happen sometimes, the chicas will be like, hi, and the chicas give me respect. I'm just going to call them girls instead of the chicas, right? And the girls will give me respect. When they do show up, they'll be like, oh, hi, I know you. I've seen you on Pedro Clisante. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm really not one to just video. Now, sometimes, granted, I will, but that's if it's like an event that is happening, right? Or anything at all. I might put my video out like this on the street, like I did on a story time a few weeks back, right? But what I did was it was up more away from the main strip, right? I wanted to make sure of that. So here I am, I'm videoing myself as I'm walking, and I was going to send them that video. But then I thought, okay, now I was in the thick of everything. It was 8:15. I decided I want to go home. I wanted to get home. I wanted to get out of my, my television clothes. I wanted to wash my makeup off. So I saw a motor concho across the street, and I walked across the street, and I was still on my phone actually at that time, and I was like this, and I saw the motor concho, and I went, and then so I went over to the motor concho like this, and then I was getting on the motor concho, and this girl came over, and she went, boom, knocked my phone out of my hand. Now here's the scary part. The scary part. My dad was a boxer, and I did not pay heed to his advice. His advice was never turn your back on your opponent. Never turn your back on your enemy. But I didn't take her as an enemy, So when she knocked my phone out of my hand, I actually bent down like this. She could have hit me. Until this day, that's what I really think of most. But anyway, I went down and I picked up my cell phone. And I was so confused. And I looked at her, and I'm like, is this your boyfriend? I only want a motor concho drive home. I couldn't think for the life of me why she would have like hit my cell phone out of my hand, because I called her boyfriend over for a motoconcho. Motoconcho is a motorcycle taxi. All right. And she's like, no. And she looked at him like, no. And I said, then what? Like, I'm thinking now, like, girl, you better come up with something good, because if it's not jealousy, like stupidity jealousy, then you better come back with something really swift. And she didn't. She said to me, you're videoing me. I said, what? Oh, no, you didn't. She said, yeah, you're videoing me. Oh, that's when Hood Cerise came right out. I opened up my cell. I couldn't open up my cell phone quick enough to show her how wrong she was. I said, you come here. You come here. And so I went to open up the door to take her inside the restaurant to show her the videos, but she was like, no. She couldn't go inside. And then the girls that were inside, I called them out, like one of the girls. I said, come out here. And she came out, and I said, this girl right here just slapped my phone down. She thinks that I'm videoing her in the street, and I don't know if I have enough Spanish to explain to her how angry I am. So I need you to speak to Spanish to her for me. And she's like, okay. And then that's when the working girl was like, and this was a working girl, guys. This was a prostitute. So it wasn't just any normal girl on the street. She was a prostitute. So she said, I speak English. But for some reason, it didn't register to me when she said she speaks English. Like, I was still heated. So I was like, I was speaking Spanish to her. And I said, you're not important to me. Like, why would I even try to take video of you? And I said, look. And then I pulled up my videos and I showed her what I had on there. I didn't even have time to do any delete or anything. And she went, oh. And I said, listen, you shouldn't be doing that to people out in the street. I would never ever video you. And if you know me because you know that I have a YouTube channel, then you should look at my YouTube channel first to see that I am not trying to video you. I don't care about you at all. But the thing is this, I didn't say too much after that, because I actually understood where she was coming from. There are a lot of people that come in from Santo Domingo, Santiago, a lot of women who come in, they're called weekend warriors, and they come in and they make money while they can, like on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. At this point, I didn't even know who she was. This was on a Wednesday though, right? Because I had my show on Wednesdays. At this point, I didn't even know who she was. I never saw her before. So then I started to see her all the time, and it was so awkward. I just wanted to say to her, hey, let's let bygones be bygones. Like, we got to let this go. Like, I live here, you live here. Every time I walk by you, you look down. Like, I wanted to say that to her so many times, but I didn't. One day I was walking with my friend Nancy, and my friend Nancy, she comes back and forth here all the time. Shouts out, Nancy, if you're watching this. And she's Puerto Rican. She's like, 5'5", but she's full of fire. I'm 5'9", so here we are, we're walking down the street, and I say to Nancy, I said, see that girl right there? And I told Nancy the story. And Nancy went over to the girl, and I'm like, Nancy! Nancy went right over to her. Nancy's like, don't you ever do that to my friend again. My friend is nice, and she's not trying to video you, blah, blah, blah. And apparently the girl said to my friend, that she told me that I'm not important, right? And I was like, so when Nancy came back over to me, she's like, did you tell her that she's not important? And I said, yeah, I told her she's not important to me. And she was like, oh, okay, because that's what she was saying, that, it kind of hurt her. And I said, well, yeah, that should have hurt her, because she's not important to me. But then I realized that she's young, and maybe she misunderstood. Maybe she thought I was saying that she's not anything, that she's not worth it, she's only a working girl, and that was not my intent. So I went over to her at that moment, and I told her, I was like, we need to squash this. This is not good, and I apologize that people video you without your permission. You can't be kicking off on people like that. And she was like, and that was it. Saw her a few times after that. We always nod and smile and keep it moving. But yeah, that's my little story about a little wild chica. But these are two different stories coming up now. So the next story, I have two more stories for you. So the next story, there is a Canadian woman. and she is dating a Dominican man. Now, this Dominican man, he's a younger dude. She's an older woman, she's here, she's on a sabbatical leave. She's a teacher, a professor in a university in Canada. So she decides that she's just going to, she's never had any children. She's never ever been married. She's always done her work, her studies, but now she's writing a book. And she thought, you know what? I want to go to the Dominican Republic and write my book. So she came here. When she came here, she wasn't expecting to fall for a younger man. Now, I know in some of my videos, I talk about these sanky-panky men, these young boys that mean you no good. But this dude, he had a really good job. And he really wasn't trying to take advantage of this woman. She is an older woman, but you would never guess. Like, she's always taken very good care of herself. She's very, very fit, beautiful. She actually looks better than a lot of the girls on the corner, So he felt like he won the lottery. And he was treating her very well. He comes from a family that is wealthy. So he wasn't looking at her for money at all. He had his own car, never took any gas from her or anything of that nature. And he wouldn't ever let her pay for anything. So there are a lot of wealthy Dominicans here, and he comes from one of those families. So here she is, she's hanging out with him. Of course, he did have a past before her. Makes sense, right? So he was with one woman for a very long time. And this one woman, she comes from a family that wasn't so good, but he used to see her on the side. His family never, ever wanted her in his life. The family used to always tell him, don't bring her home, don't bring her to any events, blah, 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 right? Well, he's never dated anybody except for her. He literally loved her and only her. But one day, he found out that she comes to Sosua with her friends. They're from Santiago. One day, he found out that she was coming to Sosua with her friends on the weekends as a weekend warrior. And she was coming into town for money, as a working girl. And he caught wind of this because one of his family members happened to see her. Now, it is an island, but for a family member from Santiago to be here in Sosua and to see all that, it happens. Synchronicity happens all the time. But for him, he looked at it as a blessing. And he said, this is a blessing, because finally he got that move, that box upside his head for him to leave her alone. And for him to just be like, okay, yeah, she's not right for me. Because he didn't want to be with a working girl. Here she is with him all week. She says she's going to school. She says she's doing all this. On weekends, she was disappearing. But he didn't mind. He thought she was really working because she said she was working. And so anyway, he left her. So then it was shortly after when he met this older woman from Canada on her sabbatical. And he met her at a coffee shop. She had her laptop, and he was going in to get a coffee and breakfast in the morning before he was going to work. He saw her a few times, and then one day he just started to talk to her and ask her questions. From then on, they became a couple. She was on her sabbatical for 6 months. When he met her, it was still in her first month of sabbatical. So he met her very fresh into her stay here. They traveled the whole entire island. They just enjoyed life together so much. She wanted to come to Sosua. Now, when she told me this story, she said that she saw my YouTube channel and other YouTubers here, and she just wanted to come to Sosua Beach and be around the beach town and see what it was like, what it was all about. So he didn't think about it at all, because here he is with this new woman, and he doesn't come to Sosua much. He didn't really think anything about it. He didn't think about his ex. Now, you know where I'm getting at now. So here he comes to Sosua, and they're on the beach. It's the daytime. They're great. They rented a place down the street, a really nice place. They spent a week here in Sosua. She wanted to do everything, this woman. So they went to the beach, they went to the river, they went out to dinners, and they also went to the casino. When they got to the casino, the girl was there. So here is the Canadian older woman, and again, she doesn't look older. And when I say older, like, she's not an older woman. She's only like 49, you know? So she's not an older woman, and this guy is like 30, right? So, you know, the age difference, when I say older, I mean she's older than him, but she's not an older woman. And she looks like she's 10 years younger than her age, right? So here she is, she's dancing and she's grooving, and she knew how to dance, but she knows how to dance to bachata, you know? She's just one of those educated women. Before coming to the Dominican Republic, she went to salsa classes, bachata classes, merengue classes. She learned Spanish before she came. She wanted to make sure that she was here alone in the Dominican Republic. She knew the language and she knew the culture and the traditional foods and everything, right? So she did her homework before she came. Here she is, she's dancing. The chica goes up to her. He goes to the washroom, and the chica, the girl, the ex-girlfriend, goes up to her and says, "Who are you?" Right? And she says it in Spanish, and the Canadian woman tells her, and she's like, "Get out of here, you gotta go." And the Canadian woman's like, "Why? What's going on?" And she's like, "Get out of here, you gotta go. Get out right now." And then she like starts grabbing the woman's purse, the Canadian woman's purse. She starts grabbing the Canadian woman's clothing, and she starts pushing her out, and she's like, "You got to get out, you got to get out. That's my man, that's my man." Right? Now remember, she's saying all of this in Spanish, but remember, the Canadian woman can speak Spanish, so the Canadian woman pulls right back, and she says, "Hey, enough. Who is your man? What are you talking about?" And she says, "Jose is your man?" Jose comes out of the bathroom. He sees his ex, and he tells her, "Let go of my woman," right? So then he grabs the Canadian woman, and they start walking out to their rental car. They get outside in the parking lot. And that was probably the first problem. He should have just stayed in the casino with his new woman. Don't go out into the parking lot to where the car is and go looking for your car where you have a woman anywhere around the world that is upset. She becomes unpredictable, especially if it's in an environment where there's alcohol concerned. So what does this woman do? She gets her Presidente, and she breaks off the bottom end of it, and she pokes him. And then obviously he starts to bleed, and then the Canadian woman, she starts to run, and as soon as she starts to run, people all start running over to her to protect her and to help her out because she was terrified. And then they said to her, "What's going on? What's going on?" Like, you know, and she told them like, "I don't know what's happening. Like, that's his wife." And they're like, "No, this woman is a prostitute. We don't know who this man is, but you have to now take him to the hospital." And then they drove to CMC Hospital, and while they were in CMC Hospital, they figured everything out, and everything was all right. You know, I mean, she found out that he had just recently broke up with the girl just before those two met. It was an unfortunate situation, right? You go directly to security. You go directly to where there is open area where, you know, it's not so crowded. You know, you go to an open area where there's still people. You don't go out into the dark to your car and run away. You go up to security and you say to security, "That woman is bothering me. I need to get out to my car. Make sure she stays in here while I'm going out to my car." That's it. But he wasn't doing that. He was trying to get the woman out as quickly as possible. Just like me, when I bent down to get the phone, I was trying to get my phone as quickly as possible. Sometimes we don't think in the moment, in the midst of when something is happening to us. That's why we have to, yes, use our instincts, but at the same time, pause. Pause and look around to see who is around you, always. So now here's the third story. There's a guy, an American guy, and he has a baby with a chica. Now, this guy, he sends her money all the time. And he didn't tell her he was coming into town. Now, she doesn't have a problem with him sending her money. Like, he sends it every single month, and it's enough to take care of the baby, and it's enough to take care of her needs and everything. But usually, when he would come down here, right, he would come down here and bring her like a suitcase full of gifts and ask her what she needs before he comes. He didn't do that. Why? He was bringing his new American girlfriend. Now, he's from North Carolina. This woman is also from North Carolina. You know, they have been in love for a very long time, but they've been going back and forth. And so finally they got together and they got married. They were not, at this point, they were on their honeymoon, okay? Put it that way. They got married. Just a quickie marriage, like eloped, and then they came here, right? So I shouldn't say it's his girlfriend. It was at that moment his wife. So he said to her, he's like, you know what? Let's go visit my Dominican family. Now, a lot of you guys, even myself, when we get involved with a Dominican, we quite often meet their family because Dominicans are very family oriented. They really are. So you will meet their family. And it really gives us an opportunity to understand the language and the culture and the food. And it's just so exhilarating. And then even after you break up with that person, that family quite often still appreciates you and loves you. They'll still invite you into their home knowing that you're in town, you know, and they don't do it trying always like to get something from you. They do it because they appreciate the fact that you appreciate them. There's some history, there's some blood, you know, even if you don't have children with that family, there is some, you know, memories. And so quite often they will hang out and get involved and stuff like that, right? So this guy, he wanted to introduce his new wife to his family, Dominican family, because whenever he comes here, he sees them. He gives them money, he takes them out for dinner, you know, he treats them good, and they love him. So they invited him to dinner. And he was like, all right. And he said, let me take you guys out for dinner. I'm going to pick you guys up and we're all going to go out for dinner and, you know, we'll have a nice night on the town. Now, they said to him, no, bring her into the house. It's all right. Like, you know, the girl that he used to be with, the baby mama, she wasn't even in town type of thing. Like, she doesn't even live in that area any longer, right? And he knows that because he knows that his son doesn't live near the grandparents any longer. So he's like, oh, you know, I can't. Like, he's like, it's just, it feels uncomfortable and it just feels a little, you know, shaky, like a little unstable. He's like, I can't do it. And he's like, it might even be borderline disrespectful as well. He was using his head. So here he goes, he picks up the mother, he picks up the father, and the brother was there as well. Now the brother, right, is like his brother as well, right? Because he was with the Dominican girl for a few years. Their baby, I keep saying baby, but their son is 5 years old. So, and he comes here like at least twice a year to the Dominican Republic. And before the baby was born, he was coming here constantly every few months. And so, you know, he's known these people for almost a decade, you know, so he saw this brother grow up pretty much. So they all go out, the brother, the mother, the father, and the dude and his new wife. They're all having dinner, and the brother took a video of everyone at the table and said, oh, look who's in town, blah, blah, blah. But this is something he always does. He has social media. He loves to be up on Facebook. And, you know, he was having a really big meal at a very beautiful restaurant. This is something to show his friends on Facebook, you know, and his friends on Facebook, his friends knows this guy, this American guy as well, right? Like when I tell you that he's in the family, everyone knows him. So he's like, look who's in town, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and his new wife. And then, you know, he goes around and he shows everything. Well, they had their dinner. By the time they got back to the house, they invited the guy in for coffee. They're like, come on in. The mother said, come on in, please just have some coffee. It's evening time now, right? Like nighttime. And she's like, come on in to the house. It's okay. My daughter is not here. And the wife said, no, this is kind of awkward. You know, she doesn't speak Spanish. They don't speak English. He does speak Spanish, but he could tell it was awkward for her. And why put her in that position, right? He didn't have to. She did enough by going out with the family. So this is the thing. The mother, she makes all these nice little ornaments and stuff of that nature, right? She makes jewelry. She wanted to give something to the girl to say, like, nice to meet you. The mother lives in the campo, like the countryside, and she didn't really have much, but she does make these little knickknacks, so she wanted to give it to the new wife. So she goes into the house, and all you can hear is arguing, blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like, that sounds like my ex. So he rolls the window down, right, because the air conditioner was on. He rolls the window down. He's trying to listen. And he's like, yeah, that's my ex. She's there. And the wife said, let's go. Like, you know, because it's the countryside. It's a little dark. There's arguing. So he's like, yeah. So he pulls back. And then he pulls forward. And it's nighttime. And when the countryside gets night, it gets night, you know. So he's trying to maneuver around on this dirt road, and then finally he gets the car turned around, the SUV turned around, and he starts to drive out, and boom, she throws a big boulder through the back of the SUV. Guys, unnecessary. So then, you know, his phone starts ringing off the hook and everything. She wanted to ambush him because she knows that when he's in town, he goes to the family house, right? And so, you know, she was probably arguing with the mom, where is he? And the mom was probably like, he's gone. And the mom probably didn't know how to get out of the house, to tell them to go. It was probably just like a lot of chaos in the house and everything. And then when she saw that he wasn't even going in the house, she put two and two together that, okay, you know what? He has a wife now? How dare him, you know? How dare him not tell her that he's moved on with his life after he's paying all that support and everything, you know? So anyway, she turns around, she starts messaging him, calling him, and he answers the call. And he's like, are you crazy? Like, you just smashed out the window. And she's like, you didn't bring me my gifts. You didn't tell me you were coming. You didn't even bring me my gifts. And that's what she was mad about. She was mad that he came into town with his wife, took her family out for dinner, and didn't bring her anything from the United States. And he said to me, he's like, Cerise, I was like, wow, I'm never bringing her anything again. All he did was he said to her, you know what, like the next time I come to town, I'm going to make sure that you drop the baby, you drop our son off to me where I'm at, and you're not allowed to come into the front gates, because whenever he comes here, he rents at like different places, right, that has the gate out front, gated community. And he's like, you're not allowed to go into the gates, and I'm going to tell them you're not allowed into the gates, and the whole time I'm there, I want my son, and you cannot come around. And she can't say no to that. You know, they've gone to court here and everything. He does pay his support that he's supposed to pay and more, you know. So she kind of ruined it for herself, because now he said all the money that he used to send her, the extras, because he used to send, like at Christmas time, he would, if he couldn't make it down here, he would send a barrel down for his son. really good stuff. And he would also send stuff for like her mom, her dad. Now he only sends down stuff for his son and the grandparents and the brother. He doesn't send anything for her. He said he would even sometimes send her, like nice outfits and, wigs, and he would send her stuff for just like perfumes and lipsticks and stuff. He said he always knew what she liked, and so he always would go above and beyond because it was the mother of his child. And, he would always throw in a few goodies for her. But he's like, after that, he never buys her anything. And not only that, when he does come to the Dominican Republic, he always gets his child and he brings his wife and they see the child in the villa that they're in. And that's it. And he also will get the parents, he will get a car, like a driver, to go pick up the parents and take the parents to the villa as well. And he'll even get like a 5-room villa, and the wife doesn't mind. The American wife doesn't mind. She likes them too, so he'll get like a 5-bedroom villa, and so one room is for him and his wife, and then the room for his son, room for the parents, and the brother even comes along, so looks like that chica missed out on having respect from a really good man. She could have met that wife, and I'm pretty sure the wife seems pretty cool. The wife would have probably brought down some of her clothes, like leftover clothes, because when us women who are mature, I've seen it before, where women will bring the baby mama clothing, like jewelry and stuff. Like, they're very mature women that will come here and be like, okay, I'm going to be seeing the baby mama, so let me give her a few things. And a lot of the Dominican women, so even though these stories are horrible, most of the women are awesome. Like 90% of the Dominican women are great, which brings me to my next point. I wrote a book on how to win the heart of a Dominican woman. And in that book, I talk about 90% of the amazing women that live here and that are from here and that have moved to like Canada, America, Spain, all over the world, and they are amazing women. There we go, guys. Long story time there for you. Check out my other channels that I have on YouTube. I have one called Sister Cerise. It is a celebrity news channel. I talk about a lot of the celebrities. And then I have another channel called Fairfax Files, and it's a true crime channel that I just started recently. And I also have another one called The Fifth Dimension, where I do a lot of soul coaching talking. All right, so all of those will be down in the description, and you can check me out on all my other channels. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful day. God bless.